Hello adventurers, and welcome to this session recap for our campaign, Fables from the Tavern. In this video, I, Stoom, the Dungeon Master of our campaign, will run through what's happened in our session so far, from fateful beginnings to frightening ends. We hope you enjoy this short video, telling you all the story that we've told so far. In our Session 0, the players' fates were intertwined as they all arrived at a party, for it was Larsen Arbaldson, the son of the local earl, who had turned 16, and as such had been given a party of great extent, where villagers and people of all sorts were invited to gather, party, and enjoy. It is 5 of these guests that will one day become the hero of this story. One guest being Cy Silverhune, a paladin of the local earl, and a man whose fate would be soon involved with those of his people around him. Another guest was Fritz, a blood magic wizard who, after remaining in the corner of the party, unknowingly set themselves up to join an adventure. And skulking the edge of this party was Hazel, a barbarian who seemingly did not understand human customs, instead resolving to stalking the outer fences and observing what went on. Another soon-to-be adventurer was Newmore Ironclad, a war-forged wizard of the School of Necromancy, whom was currently in discussion with a group of scholars so enamored by his existence. However, his story has just begun. And finally, joining the party and adventure is Shinoch, a human monk who appeared to have a lack of the ability to see, something that he seems to work around with an innate sense of something else. It was as the people partied that a shadow swooped over the tops of people's heads. Once, twice, before pouncing downwards and attacking the locals, for standing before them was a huge manticore. As guests fled for safety, it was the 5 individuals priorly mentioned, and our soon-to-be party, that took up arms and defended the beast from killing anyone. After slaying it, they believed themselves to be clear of any danger, but they were wrong, for not far to their left, another manticore swooped down, stealing a young child, and with her in its grasp, it fled. As the party followed, they could do nothing but watch as it ran away, a screaming girl in hand. Knowing he had to use his guard force to protect his people, Earl Arbald asked these adventurers whether they would take up arms and save the girl for him. They agreed. However, they all knew they'd need a good night's rest before heading out on this adventure, so Earl Arbald sent them into the town of Thorol, where they found a local tavern. And so they entered the Harp and Bow, the music center of this great town. As soon as they entered, the sound of music filled their ears. Joy and drunkenness, as the bartender seemed to be so out of consciousness, he could not even count the very gold he was asking for. After a variety of tomfoolish actions taken place by Hazel and Shinoch, the party took a rest, readying themselves for the fight to come. But believing themselves safe would be a mistake, for the moment they exited the tavern, another manticore swooped down and attacked. And the worst was still to come, for 2 of the guests suddenly peeled their skin, revealing themselves to be doppelgangers. After an immense fight, the party slaying the manticore, an echoing voice rang through their heads, a voice telling them they were to die. Unsure of where to go next, the party made their way to the Earl, in which along the way they received a message via a crow, telling them to meet at the Earl's house. After climbing the hill that his house lay upon, they entered the house, seeing its beauty, and headed up to Arbald's office. Two people stood inside the office. One was Arbald himself. The other was Aldred Rowley, or as many called him, Aldred Crowley, a man of pale face and an immense hatred for anyone that he did not deem to be perfect for himself. After an intense discussion with Aldred, the party came to an agreeal. They would have 2 days to track down the manticores and eliminate the cause, or at least bring back some valuable information. To set them on their path, Arbald and Aldred gave the party some information about where they could begin their quest. For there had been some recent attacks in Thorol, in which various members had noted manticores attacking the locals. Seeing this as a clue to where they should go, the party headed down there, of which they found burned houses and a crying man who told them the manticore had fled into the forest. And so the party made their way to a local lumberjack. But things were not as they had expected, for as they arrived, the man lay dying on the floor. But he could only tell them to head next door and save his child. But no healing could do its works. The boy was dead, and there was nothing they could do. It was at that moment that the boy began convulsing, his skin stretching and boiling, as if creating an ichor that coated his entire skin as he transformed from boy to doppelganger, seemingly unlike any transformation of doppelgangers they'd seen before. There was something odd this time, as if the boy had been something else, had become a monster. And from the boy's fingertips came a thick ichor that spread through the floorboards, summoning these oozing creatures that took flight and began spraying ooze onto the eyes of any that attacked. And so a fight took place in which the party could do nothing but kill the boy. However, Sai took some mercy, instead deciding to leave the boy unconscious in a last-ditch attempt to turn him back. But despite all attempts, nothing could be done. The boy was a monster forever, and nothing could ever change. Filled with grief, the father could only ask one thing of the party, that they track down what had happened and kill the source of this evil. And so, after being told that the manticore had fled into a forest, the party followed suit, eventually finding it in a small divot in the ground, asleep. And they decided mercy was not the option. They held the beast in place and lifted it from the ground to reveal manticore children beneath it. But mercy was not in their hearts, for they slayed the beast for its cruelty, leaving only one cub remaining, who immediately eyes grew purple and began flying away. And so the party followed, and followed, and followed. And what they found would only leave them with fear in their hearts. As a storm began to brew, they found themselves staring upon the giant hill, with what could be up to 100, maybe more manticores swirling around, and doppelgangers walking up paths. A hill of death. And so, as lightning struck the top, our party stood before this hill of utter destruction, with no clue what was to come. And that, my friends, is the campaign so far. With our party standing before this hill, who knows what they'll get up to next? But we invite you to join us for every episode, which releases on Mondays. Before we finish this video, I've got a few thank yous and shout outs to give. First of all, a huge thank you to my players, who are simply the greatest people to DM for, and they make this game such a joy. Secondly, I'd like to thank Studio Shinto, who is the developer of this game that we play in. He's truly a great DM, and I hope you guys will check out the product. I'd also like to give a shout out to the Arcane Ward. Their link will be in the description, and they are another D&D VR YouTube channel, and I would heavily recommend checking them out. Finally, take a look at our TikTok, which will be having videos released as soon as we can. We really hope you enjoy the videos produced on there, and as always, we hope you enjoyed this video.